Noom is really well known globally for our weight management platform, but that's not really what we focus on. We're more of a health and wellness company focusing on illness prevention. I'm a firm believer in a structured interview and keeping everyone to the same standard and not looking at their background as a way to bias my opinion. After the interview, I really think that they'll do this job well and they're going to excel. And they ended up excelling. They ended up doing so well that they moved up into management. And I really focused on their philosophies and how they acquire talent as a primary decision-making factor. It was aligned with what I'm looking for, with really being able to have that structure and unbiased process. And so it was a natural fit.
Hi, good morning. So today I have Rachael with us, who is all about recruitment. Her favorite part of the job is to match candidates that are excited about a job with the right job opportunity. The company that she is currently working with is hiring and it's growing extensively. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Rachael, and we can definitely put in a conversation regarding how we could get you that dream job. Hi, Rachael. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, thank you so much. So Rachael, first question, I heard you love to surf. Can you tell us about that? Because I've always been a fan of surfing, wanted to learn, but I think I'm scared. So how do you think it's hard?
I have a skewed perception. My dad actually put me on a surfboard when I was 3 months old. So I have officially surfed longer than I walked. So I don't think it's that difficult, but I've been an instructor for years and it's a good workout and it's a great time to be in the water. So you should definitely go for it. I think you're going to be safer than, driving a car.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So thank you so much, Rachael, for sharing that. Rachael, next question. Can you tell us about your journey, how you got into recruitment?
Yeah. So I actually graduated college early and nobody wants to hire a 17-year-old. It's pretty much a fact. So I ended up going to China, worked as an au pair for a while, came back and fell into a sales job. And the moment I got into the company, I kept looking at the recruiter's office and thinking, those kids are so cool. I loved that they knew everything going on. It was like love at first sight for a job where I knew deep down that was exactly what I wanted to do. And so I just kept asking, how do I get into recruiting? And I ended up finding a way through a headhunting agency and found my way in-house from there.
Okay, and why specifically recruitment though? As in, I think I've spoken to so many recruiters where they're like, "Oh, we just fell into it," but you specifically fell in love with it. What aspects of the recruitment was something that you found interesting?
I have a deep passion for learning about people. I think people are the most amazing thing in the world. And every time I talk to a candidate, I feel like I learn about people. I learn about their passions, what makes them excited. And I feel like I get to be a part of their journey in a really important, wonderful way.
That makes sense. My next question for you, Rachael, would be you've been in recruitment for a while. You've helped a lot of people get their jobs. What's one story that has stood out with you throughout your journey that you were like, oh, I made an impact on this person's life?
Oh my gosh. There's a few. I think there's a few that stand out. One in particular was at Oh My Green. It was my first in-house job, and it was somebody who had a questionable past. They actually were a convicted felon, but it was for a nonviolent offense. It was something that they had really paid for through their time in the prison, and they couldn't get on their feet, and they needed a job. And we had a warehouse job that was open. And I saw their background, and I actually went to bat for them. And I said after the interview, I really think that they'll do this job well, and they're going to excel. And they ended up excelling. They ended up doing so well that they moved up into management. And from what I understand, they're still there, and that makes me really happy.
Wow. So I think a lot of people usually are hesitant when it comes to taking chances on people, when I believe everyone does deserve second chances, especially if you pay the price. So how did you make that choice? I think there's always that bias where you're like, should I not? The responsibility might fall onto my shoulders. So how did you reason with yourself there?
It's a case by case person thing where if you talk to somebody, and I'm a firm believer in a structured interview and keeping everyone to the same standard and not looking at their background as a way to bias my opinion. So of course I look at the background to understand experience, but if somebody comes in there and they have a unique background and they knock it out of the park and they're giving me the thought processes we want to see, that they have the right philosophy in approaching the work, it's going to be an absolute yes for me. In the same time, if somebody comes in there with all the right credentials, but their philosophy, thought process, engagement is not in line with our core values, I'm not going to feel comfortable moving them forward.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I think a lot of people these days are all about purpose and finding purpose driven candidates which matches with the company's internal philosophy, their mission statement, and their values. So that's something very important. So thank you for sharing that, Rachel. Rachel, my next question for you would be your company is definitely hiring. Can you tell us a little about your company, your role within the company, and what kind of positions are open?
Yes, of course. So Noom is really well known globally for our weight management platform, but that's not really what we focus on. We're more of a health and wellness company focusing on illness prevention. We're actually founded because one of our founders lost their father, and that's what spurred him into this journey. So when we look at what Noom does, that's really at the core of everything is health and wellness. I specialize in recruiting for our coaching, research, and support departments. So it's more on the business side, more specialized, and in those sort of health and wellness focused areas.
Okay, and what drew you to this company? Were you headhunted? Were you would someone reach out to you? How was the journey like for you getting into this company?
So I was at an amazing company, Cisco Meraki. I could say only nice things about them. And I just became kind of comfortable in my position. I knew I needed a job that was going to push my own limits. So I wanted to go to a company that was still growing and scaling and building foundational processes. I ended up reaching out to an agency for recruiting, recruiters for recruiters, and let them know what I was looking for and basically threw it out into the universe and said, hey, if you have something that's in line with what I want, please feel free to pass me along. And Noom was one of the people they passed me to. And I really focused on their philosophies and how they acquire talent as a primary decision-making factor. It was aligned with what I'm looking for with really being able to have that structure and unbiased process. And so it was a natural fit.
Okay, and how is the onboarding process for you like? I think a lot of companies during the pandemic have revamped their onboarding process, especially because most of it is done remote. So, how was your experience like getting to know each other, getting to know the team, making sure that you were well aware of the processes and everything? Because it's easier if it's done in person, right? So, I'd love to understand your experience.
This was my first new job in 4 years, and it just reminded me how hard that is and how uncomfortable it is to be a new team. So yeah, you're 100% right. It is a bit strange. But Noom did a great job. They were really prompt. They even sent me like my own little personalized goodie bag outside of the Noom one just to say, we're so excited to have you on the team. And it made me feel welcomed. Even though it was like pens in a cup, and I was like the greatest pen and cup you could ever send me. And then my timing worked out nice that we actually had a company on site only about a month after I started. So I was able to meet everyone in person. We do that quarterly. So it is a nice way to kind of reestablish and really cement those relationships.
Okay, well, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your journey about how you came across your current role, how you utilized the agency, and how the universe decided to open its doors for you. It was a pleasure learning from you about your journey and how far you've come, especially how you decided to finish college early and apparently you've decided you went for a career that worked for you. So kudos to you, and thank you so much for coming on once again.
Thank you. My biggest, if I could say one thing, I just hope everyone follows exactly what they love, because it doesn't matter if it's scary, if it's surfing, if it's a job. If you feel a passion for it, you should absolutely pursue it.
I 100% agree. That is very true. Thank you so much.